Hi, I'm Troy from Studio 33 Guitar. Thanks for watching, and today we're talking about how to make your chord changes quicker and smoother. One of the most frustrating things for beginner guitar players is changing from one chord to another quickly. And most beginners assume that all the trouble is because of their left hand. But in reality, the right hand will help you solve this problem. I'm going to explain that in this lesson, and I'm going to show you the secret to making your chord changes quick and smooth. If you're a beginner guitar player and you're learning a song and you're changing from a G chord to a D chord, for example, you may find that you sound like this. You'll notice that when I was strumming and it was time to change to the next chord, I would stop strumming and then wait for my hand to get into position, get all the fingers in the right spot for the chord, and then I would start strumming again. And that's very common for beginners because you're afraid to strum without having the chord right. But this is the secret to getting those chord changes to happen quicker. You need to keep that strumming hand going, whether you're ready for that chord or not. Keep strumming, and that will force your left hand to make the change quicker. This is a concept that I call forcing the changes, and this is what I teach my students when I teach one-on-one. When you stop strumming and you allow your hand to get into the exact position that it needs to be in before you strum again, your brain will start telling your left hand that it has all the time in the world to get into position because this hand is stopped. But if we keep this arm going and we keep strumming, then that hand has to move faster because this hand is not waiting for it. And this is really just a mental trick, but it actually works. If you keep strumming, this hand will start to move quicker. The most important part about this concept is it's okay for this hand to not quite be ready as you're strumming. The chord's not going to sound quite right, but that's all right. When you start playing along to your favorite song on a recording, or if you get together with some other people to play a song, they're not going to stop and wait for you to make that chord change. They're going to keep on strumming or they're going to keep on playing, and so you have to keep up by keeping that hand going. As you practice this, you'll find that this hand will just instinctively get quicker at making those changes. Let me demonstrate what it would look like to keep strumming even though this hand is not quite ready. I'll do that same chord change from G to D, and then I'm going to go to a C add 9 as well. So you can hear how that sounded a little bit messy because those chords weren't quite ready when I was strumming. But the important thing here is that as I was strumming, I was keeping the time. And that will sound better than if you stop and then make those adjustments and then start strumming again. It's a lot more musical if you keep that beat going because that's what happens in an actual song. So when I went from that G chord to that D chord, and I first got my fingers down there, I didn't quite have this middle finger down yet. Now this ring finger was able to stay in the same spot for both of those chords, so that really helped. But I didn't have my middle finger down. And so when I first strummed that chord, it sounded like this. And that doesn't sound that bad. That's actually what's called a D2 chord. So I ended up strumming that once or twice until I got my middle finger into position, and then it sounded like that. When I went to that C chord, I think I strummed before I had my middle finger down, so it ended up sounding like that. Then I got my middle finger down for the next strum, and then I was able to get my index finger in for the third one. Even though there's a couple of technically wrong notes in there when I'm strumming and I'm making those adjustments, that's okay. It sounds better than stopping and then starting again. So pick a couple of chords, whether you use G and D or G, D and C or whatever chords you want to use, and just practice that concept of forcing the changes. So force this hand to keep going regardless of what this hand is ready for. Just keep strumming and then play the chord, and then if you're not quite right, if you get your fingers down into some of the positions but not all of them, then just keep working on that. But the important thing is keep this arm going, and eventually this hand will just start to work faster. By doing this, you're going to sound a lot more musical and a lot better a lot quicker. The other big tip that I would suggest is keep in mind when you're changing from one chord to another, try and get your fingers in position from the top down. So the same direction that your pick is moving, try and get those fingers in position first. If I was coming from a G chord and then going to a D chord, the first note that I want to make sure that I get in position is this index finger, because that's the string that the pick is going to hit first. And that will help the chord to sound a little bit more like it's supposed to until I can get my middle finger in position. So if you're changing to a G chord, you want to start by getting that middle finger in position first before you try to get your index finger in position. And that will also help to smooth out those changes. Start practicing your chord changes in this way and force those changes to happen, and you'll find that your fingers will start moving a lot quicker. And that's going to make your chord changes smoother and faster. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.